maybe you and I had better have a little heart-to-heart talk.
Why?
Well, you want to be a real boy, don't you?
Jiminey's Cricket's Corner.
Hey guys, so welcome back to another episode of Jiminey Cricket's Corner. It's been a minute, huh? So hopefully you guys like the new intro. Kind of wanted to put a little bit of a spin, and so you guys can kind of see where the inspiration for the channel came up with, and just really kind of give it a whole fresh new look. Tired of seeing the same thing over and over again. So I figured I'd change up the pace, if you will. But for you guys who are tuning in for the first time, keep in mind, Jiminey Cricket's Corner is an opportunity for me to give you guys advice about just general topics, some of which are situations that I'm actually going through myself. So again, while I'm helping you guys out, I'm actually kind of preaching to myself a little bit as well. So let's go ahead and get this episode started. Before we get started, if you haven't done so already, follow, subscribe, all that stuff, and help support the movement and everything that's going on with it. So, with that being said, as you can tell by the title, I really wanted to talk about, well, haters. I think we all essentially have them within our lives, and just kind of really discussing exactly how to handle them, and at least in a productive way. So I first feel like the conversation should start off with, what exactly is a hater? Okay. So me personally, I tend to believe a hater is not necessarily somebody who disagrees with you. You guys, you got to remember, there's a lot of people out here with different backgrounds, different belief systems, and all of that. And we're not all going to agree on things. So with that being said, just because somebody disagrees with you or doesn't necessarily have the same belief system as you do, in my opinion, that does not make them a hater. A hater, in my opinion, is somebody who has made it their business to make sure that they either discourage, stop whatever it is that you have going, or to try to prolong or throw dirt on your name, if you will. So now that we've gotten out of the way exactly what a hater is, as I do the air quotes in the air, I think a lot of times now it's good for us to just go ahead and discuss what I consider productive ways to go ahead and interact or not interact with a hater. I think it's first important to go ahead and state that a lot of times what we do not recognize as a people is that when we have a hater, okay, them feeling whichever way I can't talk today, them feeling whatever way it is that they feel towards you is usually because of emotions that they are dealing with inside of themselves. So if it's jealousy that they're dealing with, if maybe they're dealing with insecurities that are inside of them, these, in my opinion, are people who do not know how to constructively talk about those feelings, or maybe are having a hard time dealing with them on the inside. And so now they're manifesting those feelings and projecting them outward to people who are outside in the community to essentially take their mind off of what is going on in their lives. So I think once we recognize that, that's going to be the first step in making sure that, hey, once you recognize that, you kind of know how to handle them a little bit more productively. Now, let me say this. It does not justify the fact that they're doing that to you. So don't get it twisted. I'm not saying in any way, shape, or form are you supposed to forgive the actions, or that I'm saying that what they're doing is right. At the end of the day, whatever it is they're going through does not justify them treating you any type of way. So don't feel bad or feel like, well, if I would have just done this, or if I would not have done this, then maybe they wouldn't be hating on me. No. Again, the reason why I said it was step number one is just simply because recognizing that the problem is not within you, the problem is within them, and it's up to them to have to solve it. And until they solve it, essentially they'll be hating on a lot of people. If it's not you today, it'll be somebody else tomorrow, and then the next person the next week, ultimately until they're ready to sit down and really thoroughly sort through those feelings, emotions, thoughts, insecurities that it is that they're dealing with within themselves. So that's step number one. Now that we got that out the way, step number two, you'll usually hear a lot of people say that you're not doing something right unless you have haters. Now, I tend to believe that a lot of times what ends up taking place is that there's something within you, like we stated in step number 1, that either that person either envies, maybe a quality that they wish they may have had, or your quality that you may be presenting may be shining a light on the fact that either they don't possess that quality, or maybe it's something that makes them have to look inward on the fact that maybe they may have a shortcoming. So, I don't necessarily believe that just because somebody is hating on you, that necessarily means that you're doing something right. But I will say that if anything, let the fact, and this is another quote that they say, let the fact that you do have haters, let that be your motivation. Let your haters be your motivators is what they say. But let that be your motivation. Only simply because on that level, now you being you and you continuing down the path that you need to be continuing down, the path, if you are continuing down the path that you need to be continuing down, then you're now further, why can I not speak today? You are now going further or progressing where you need to be at as far as your life goes. One of the things that I've had to learn within the past year is that you personally cannot stop your own progression just simply because somebody else is standing in the way, somebody else is not where they need to be at, or simply because you're trying to reach back and help them. So recognize that all of this is an effort for you to continue down the path that you need to continue down. Now let's pause for a second. Take a breather. Whoo. If what is motivating you to move forward is to get haters, in my opinion, you're doing it for the wrong reasons. What should be motivating you to progress forward and to grow or to level up should be your own motivation or your own progression. That's, the urge or the need within you to say, I want to get to a different level. I want to learn a new trade. I want to educate myself. I want to expand my horizons. That should be your motivation. Do not let your motivation be, well, I want to piss such and such off, so I'm going to continue doing what it is that I'm doing because I want to get more haters and I want more people to be mad at me. Essentially, because then you're doing it for the wrong reasons. Those haters won't always be there. Let's just say that hater now decides that they don't want to hate on you anymore. Now, do you lose motivation? Do you stop doing what it is that you're doing? Do you just throw in the towel and say, oh, well, I don't have any more haters, so there's no more need for me to do it? No. If you're doing this for a reason, like the ones that I listed above, then you should let that continue to be what motivates you going forward so that you can see your own progression. So I think it's important to keep that in mind. I actually heard a quote today, which is actually going to bring me to point number 3. When you have haters or just people who just don't necessarily care for you, what you're going to come to recognize is just simply the fact that those haters are there to benefit you. Now, hear me out. I know you probably think that sounds crazy, but those haters are there to benefit you because if it were not for those haters showing themselves, showing you how they truly feel about you, you now have the opportunity to be able to take those people out of your inner circle, exclude them from out of whatever it is you have going on. So now you have a higher rate of being successful in whatever it is that you are trying to accomplish. Just keep in mind, the more those haters stay along, unfortunately, they do tend to have a long-lasting impression on us in our journey. So I personally always look at the fact of haters exposing themselves as a blessing, because guess what? Now I don't have to worry about where you stand. Now I know exactly where you stand when it comes to me and what I'm doing. Now I know exactly how to carry you going forward, and if I need to just completely remove you from out of my life, out of my environment, or out of my circle of friends. But caution, recognize as well that when you start excluding people, because like I said earlier, we all have different viewpoints and dislikes and likes and stuff like that, you may find that your circle may end up being smaller and smaller. And unfortunately, that's just the reality of things. I don't think necessarily that, again, like I said at the beginning, I don't think that everybody's necessarily a hater. Some people are just going down different paths than what we are going down. And nothing's wrong with that. I think it's just important to recognize that, hey, when you start to go down your path, or when you start to recognize that maybe your journey is not the same as others, you might find less and less people on your journey with you. It's funny, I feel like when I was coming up, I placed value on my popularity, or how many people that I knew, or how many people were in my inner circle, because to me that was a representation of who I was. You know, wow, look at how great I am because I have all these people who want to be around me, all these people who know my name, all these people who can't wait to see my next move. But as I get older, you start to realize that a lot of those people are only there for fluff. They probably really don't know you. And if they are really around you, they're only there to get what they can get from you. And at the end of the day, the next thing that comes along, or the next big thing, or the next big circumstance, or the next big person, or the next big whatever, they're going to run over there too. So again, keep in mind that as you get older, your crowd is going to probably start to thin out a little bit. And now, don't get me wrong, nothing is wrong with that. Like I said earlier, I look at that as a blessing, because guess what? Now you know, as your crowd starts to thin out, is those people who are truly there that were meant to be there. They're going down the same journey that you are going down. They agree, or you guys have similarities, and they want some of the same things out of life that you want. And because of that, now you guys can grow and upgrade and expand your horizons together, simply because these are the people who, in my opinion, you're meant to be around. You know, I'm sure you guys have probably heard this saying or this analogy over and over and over again. I always get it from Medea and, you know, all of her different plays. But, you know, you look at life like a tree. I always said it on one of the past episodes as well. You have leaves, and most trees have millions of leaves, but they're not really there to really provide anything. They may cast a little bit of shade sometimes, and that can be a good thing or a bad thing, but they're really not meant for anything. And a lot of times they wither off and die off just as quick as well. You have branches, and sometimes the branches can bear a little bit of weight. You know, they might be able to be there for you, you know, when you might need it. But when you step out on them and put a whole bunch of weight on them, and maybe entrust them with something that you would expect somebody that really had your back should be able to handle, sometimes it doesn't always go over so well. And sometimes they may crack under pressure. The key is, though, is not to get mad at them for who they are and what they do. That's who they are. That's the role that they play. Again, my father always said, we only get mad at people when we expect them to be something other than who they are, or who they've always shown us to be. If they've shown us that all they are to be is leaves, or if they've shown us that all they're going to be is branches, then guess what? We can't expect them to be anything else other than that. But when you get down to the roots of that tree, those roots can supply that tree everything that it needs. Everything. It can bear all the weight. It supplies all the nutrients. And guess what? Them roots ain't going nowhere. Nowhere. Because guess what? The same thing that you're trying to get to, they're trying to get to. And the funny thing is, and I actually watched one of her plays this morning, the funny thing is sometimes you can have 1,000,000 leaves or 1,000 branches, but that tree can survive off of just a couple of roots. Crazy, isn't it? But again, I go back to the fact that consider that a blessing. Consider it a blessing that now you know where these people stand at, and how they view you, and what you have going on, and what you're trying to get accomplished. Because again, they could easily not have said anything. And sometimes the worst people that we have in our lives can be people who are hidden behind the cloak of deception. The whole while we think they're there for good things, or we think that they're there to help us, but in all actuality, they may mean us harm. And if we're none the wiser, they can probably really do damage. So is it gonna hurt? Yeah. Are you gonna get upset? Oh yeah, I still get upset to this very day. Is it gonna bother you? Oh yeah. But at the end of the day, you guys, these are some of the things we have to go through. You know, everything was not always meant to be easy. Sometimes we have to go through those hardships and those heartbreak and those moments to really show us who we truly are and what we can withstand as a people. And so then that way we can grow. You know, as long as you're on this earth, you're going to keep learning. There's nothing none of us can do to stop that. We're always going to be learning. Learning, literally till the day that we die. But it's those who refuse to learn that ultimately they're doing themselves a disservice. So you guys don't get mad at the haters. The haters are going to be what they do, are going to be what they be, and they're going to do what they do. The purpose is for you to make sure that you continue doing what you're doing, so that now you know that you are fulfilling whatever it is that you're here to fulfill, that you're here to help those that you're here to help, and befriend those that you're here to befriend. The more time you put into a hater, guess what? The less time that you have to spend with your loved ones. So I'm gonna close this out. As always, you guys, if you guys want to talk about anything, you know how to reach me. And again, I'll be doing these a little bit more frequently now because some of my other shows have kind of come to an end, so I can spend a little bit more time on shows like these. And again, if you guys haven't done so already, make sure to subscribe, follow, all that good stuff, and hopefully you guys can see some more of this content. But I'm gonna go ahead and let you go, and you guys enjoy the rest of your days and be safe out there. Bye.